fantasy baseball wise this year? Did you really feel like you had to like tug and pull on a lot of decisions, or felt like you were in a good spot?
Gentlemen, great to speak with you. I really appreciate y'all having me on. Yeah, I mean, the pitching rankings, I could spend so much time on them. They're always like a snapshot. I really, doing this process for the last several years, I kind of get how prospect folks are, because they always say, hey, this is a snapshot in time. It can change. If you asked me an hour later, I might feel differently, not because the guys pitch, but because you see a little bit more data on things and things move. And then, of course, we start spring and all the injuries start coming. So I'm consistently updating them. So if you go to Fangraphs, you'll see that there's been many updates. There'll be a few this week with 2 more big weekends of fantasy drafts coming. But I feel pretty good about where we're at as the pool is. But again, those small little changes that you can make. The top is secured, though, and obviously I'm wearing my Tigers hat here because we know who the top guy is, Tarek Skubal, but Paul Skeens is right there. And a Paul S. with a great mustache is somebody I'm going to have some favoritism toward, just by default there with being a Paul S. myself with a mediocre mustache. And then, of course, Wheeler might actually be a bit underrated right now because when you're looking at fantasy aces, you want somebody who's got that track record. And let's be honest, neither Skubal nor Skeens has a lengthy track record. Skubal's done some things in the past to have some confidence in, but obviously Skeens is a sophomore. Meanwhile, Wheeler, while a bit older, has been doing it for a long time. So he's almost a bit underrated at this juncture. And then you get back into the risky but high upside with Garrett Crochet and Jacob deGrom there for different reasons, young and old, but injury and lack of recent innings for deGrom and overall innings for Crochet. So it's a really interesting pool at the top this year. And I think it's had some people maybe pushing pitching down a little bit and going for hitters in those first few rounds and then starting to tackle the pitching.
Listen, I'm gonna go back on you on this because what you said at the end is the most important thing. Health, right? Okay, yes, Tarek Skubal was healthy. Paul Skeens has never pitched 30 starts in a year, so that worries me. But then Wheeler, yes, has done it for years and years, including the postseason. My problem is you get to Crochet. Last year he was so limited in innings. It's hard for me to want to. And then deGrom, we don't know what you're getting out of him. Then you have Sale, who I love to death, but again, one healthy year in the last like 5 years, right? So to me, Burns, Gilbert, Wheeler, and Skubal should be the top 4 if we're just counting on health, because you can't always, we always say the best ability is availability. To me, this is obviously a everything goes right scenario. George Kirby's on that list. He's already injured, right? So to me,
he got moved down though too.
No, I know.
He was in the aces that did get ranked down a little bit for his current health issue. But yeah,
so obviously this is everything goes perfectly. Everyone stays healthy and makes 30 starts list.
Yeah, because you're 1,000% right about best ability is availability. The problem is we're not super precise in determining who's going to get hurt. To me, if you're pitching, you're at severe risk of getting hurt. So while Wheeler is safer, I think that's a false sense of security there that he's going to pitch 200 innings this year versus somebody even like deGrom who hasn't reached over 100 in the last 4 or 5 seasons, right? So I have like a very small split between the safety there just because pitching, that's just the way pitching is, right? We're seeing guys fall every day lately. So give me the most talented guys and I will roll the dice on injury. I'm not unique there. I'm not alone, but I am in the minority as far as people who draft. I understand moving up Burns, Logan Gilbert. They've got the better track records. I just don't think that safety in the track record is super bankable because if you're throwing pitches every 5 days, you are a massive, massive injury risk, regardless of how healthy you've been in the past. It cannot be guaranteed for the future. So I'll take the best guys on a per inning basis and kind of let the chips fall where they may, health-wise.
Hey, Paul, that was great from a position player standpoint. Boring. Let's talk position players. Let's not talk pitchers anymore. Let's talk position players. Who in your eyes, right? We saw Jackson Merrill really outplay his ADP going to last year. Who in this year's season is your Jackson Merrill? Who's the guy, the young guy that we may not be focused on, but you say this guy is going to have a big year for fantasy baseball?
Well, I have a hard time not gravitating toward O'Neal Cruz. He's big in the fantasy community as well. You have Ellie De La Cruz and O'Neal Cruz. Ellie did it, so he's up there. He's in the first round. O'Neal Cruz is still a pretty expensive guy. He goes in the top 4 or 5 rounds, but we haven't fully seen it yet. 2020 season, moved to center field, has all the skills in the world. he's a huge X factor, right? That Pittsburgh team, I really think they should have gone out and gotten at least another bat or two to really help themselves. But O'Neal Cruz could be that game changer. If he goes 30-30 this year, watch out. Things could go absolutely crazy. And then a couple guys who have not debuted yet that I've got my eyes on, Matt Shaw for the Cubs and Cam Smith for the Astros. Two guys who were just drafted but have zipped up the rankings and zipped through the organizations, and they're going to break camp for both their teams. Shaw already did. He went and played at Tokyo there and is going to play in the Tokyo games this week. Cam Smith is right there on the cusp. It's looking like he's going to break camp for the Astros. He's actually a former Cub. He was part of the Kyle Tucker deal. So that tells you what the Cubs are doing with their draft and development ability. So I'm really excited about both Shaw and Cam Smith. And they're probably better comparisons for the Jackson Merrill, right? Because we didn't really know what to do with Jackson Merrill in the fantasy community last year. We saw that he was maybe going to get the job. And again, like Shaw, he went to Tokyo, which was kind of a big indicator that they're in on him, but he was playing a new position. Remember, he shifted from short to center, and then boom, had an amazing season. So Shaw's probably the perfect parallel. But again, I'll throw in Cam Smith, who's angling for a job there in Houston, who I really, really like as well.
Well, Paul, I'm going to reject Cam's claim and bring us back to pitching again. There's one other component I wanted to get to, which is the pitchers that are one step away from acehood. You covered this. We'll show this as you run through it for us. What do you got?
So these are the guys that are right there on the cusp. They've in some cases have even shown it before, but they have a lingering concern. Cole Reagan's probably track record. Now, again, you could counter me and say, how does Cole Reagan's be one step from acehood, but Garrett Crochet isn't? And I don't have a great answer for that other than I think the super upside that we saw from Crochet last year was a bit higher. He's also going to the Red Sox, which are just a better team than the Royals right now. I think the Royals are a competent, capable team, but I do think the Red Sox are a bit better. So that's their little split there. Michael King's transition from reliever to starter has been incredible, and I really love everything he's doing out in San Diego. Max Fried, he's done it. Right? Like, this is a guy, the only thing we need is if you could turn off injuries. If Rob Manfred, you can do it in video games. I don't know why Rob Manfred can't just turn off injuries in real baseball for us, because if Max Fried could be guaranteed 180 plus innings every year, I think I'd be ranking him top 10. On a per inning basis, he is one of the best pitchers out there. Now, the tough part is, are they going to start him every day in New York? Because they lose a new pitcher every day, it seems like, which is really unfortunate for the Yankees. Although no one's feeling bad for Yankees fans, let's be honest. Tanner Bybee had a great sophomore campaign last year. He was really the only starter outside of Ben Lively, who kind of surprised, that was delivering for Cleveland. They had to lean on that bullpen so much, but they're looking for Bybee and youngster Gavin Williams to maybe take some pressure off of that bullpen. And then I love the Minnesota guys, Bailey Ober, Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan. They're all three very similar, and I have both Ober and Ryan here. If either of them can cut into their homers, they've got sky-high capability. Of course, you can see I had to move Grayson Rodriguez down with his injury, but he's already working his way back. And if we could ever get health from him, he still has ace upside to me. Shane McClanahan has shown the flashes of the ace upside. We've heard from Tampa Bay that they're going to give him about 150 innings. And in today's game, especially for fantasy purposes, if you can get to about 150, that's enough to be a superstar. And then Shota Imanaga showed a lot last year. I do worry about his second half homers and how that's going to play in a full season, but I cannot deny the skills that Shota Imanaga showed.
Wow, there's so many injury concerns. I can't, but I love it because I don't play fantasy, so I understand 150 innings is what you guys look for. It still amazes me. All right, Out of the Park Baseball launched recently. What should we be looking for? What's new? What are we looking for? And if I get this, when I download this game, what am I looking for as far as card wise, player wise? What's the big hit that I need to get?
So there's a lot of different ways to play. It's called Perfect Team. If you play Out of the Park Baseball, and maybe you've played the base game before where you do the simulator, against the computer, our Perfect Team mode is where you play against other players. And it's a card collecting game, which you've probably seen a lot of if you're a sports video game player. They're on MLB The Show, they're on Madden, all that, where you're collecting real life player cards, putting your team together and playing against others. The difference here in OOTP versus those other games is you're not getting on a controller and playing. It's all about the mental. So, it's kind of the Moneyball version of it. You're the GM and manager more than you are the actual player. So you put your team together, and we have leagues that run all week. So Monday through Saturday, each day is a month of the season. and you just go through, you play 30 games, however many games there are. Sometimes you got some off days, whatever. And then Sunday is the playoffs. So it plays like a real regular season. You put your team together and you're trying to win a World Series. And you can collect cards from today. We have all of the players who are going to be in Major League Baseball this year, even the guys who are hurt. So you can get a Garrett Cole card and virtually play with him this year, even though he's hurt, all the way back throughout history. Negro Leagues, historical players. And this year, our guy, Rich Grisham, got one of the greatest contracts possible. He secured the rights to Hannes Wagner. So our number one card right now, our top card to chase, is the T206 tobacco card, the most famous baseball card, the most famous sports card in history. We have it in our game, and you can work your way toward collecting that, putting him on your team, and he is the best player we've got right now. So there's a lot of things to do in Perfect Team with collecting your team, but that is the main target right now that everyone's working their way toward, is getting themselves a Hannes Wagner.
Yeah, that is a beauty. That is a digital beauty right there. Well, Paul, appreciate the insight. Thank you for joining us. Good luck all season on Perfect Team. And let's give everyone a little taste of what Out of the Park baseball is like. An avid Out of the Park baseball gamer myself. Here's a look.
Out of the Park Baseball 26, the newest edition of the beloved baseball strategy game, played by hundreds of thousands of fans around the globe, is here. The newest and biggest version yet of Out of the Park Baseball is packed with loads of features and improvements, including the Road to the World Baseball Classic, Player Development Lab 2.0. Our popular new Player Development Lab is back and better than ever. Refined options, choices, and influence. Build your perfect team. The all-new Clubhouse Tournament Shop gives you total control over your rewards. Baseball history comes alive like nowhere else. The Infinite Baseball Sandbox is here.